Hi everyone, my name is Aaron Peel. I'm the Athletic Director at Drummond High School. Today I'm going to be going through the Activities Handbook as per WIA rules. I'll also show you the school website where the athletic tabs are and where the handbook tabs are. I've been looking forward to having a Zoom meeting for this and creating a video that you guys can watch for years. So I'm hoping that this works out and makes it easier for everybody. I'm going to start by showing you the home screen for Drummond, and that is located here. So if you take a look here, this is the regular home site that we always have. And then on the side, we have tabs. So the first one I'm going to go to is athletics. If you take a look here, you can see we'll have our schedules up here for athletics. We are currently working on those because we had to change them for COVID. Drummond is going to start their athletics for practices on September 8th when we come back to school after next week. And we are going to start contests on October 1st with our conference schedules. It's relatively in line with the rest of the area conferences. It gives our kids an opportunity to compete this fall if everything goes well, and we can do so safely. And those schedules will be posted here. Please understand that that could change depending on how our situation changes here in northern Wisconsin. We have our athletic event prices. We have our physical form if a kid needs to have a physical. We have our alternate year card. If they had a physical last year, they would fill this out. Parent needs to fill it out. Also for this year, WIA has allowed a physical extension form. If you have not had a physical and you call and they cannot get you in before the first day of practice, your clinic and a parent can sign to allow the student athlete to participate until that physical takes place. So this isn't, this would be an extension to get that physical rather than in lieu of a physical. If you have more questions on that, you can email me at the school. I'm found in the faculty handbook. Otherwise, you can talk to Penny in the office and she can either answer your questions or get in touch with me. So hopefully that makes it easier for everybody to participate and to be able to practice. We know your clinics can be backed up and fall can be tricky in that regard. So if you haven't gotten that physical yet, that's an option for you. We also have the concussion link. That is paperwork that you need to fill out. And here's the concussion fact sheet. Now, the other thing that you're going to need to click on is student handbooks. And here, we decided last year to combine the student handbook and the activity code. So it's just one booklet. You don't have to worry about two. And then we have the activity and handbook sign-off sheet. You can either send this electronically or print it off and bring it in to the office. And then this is also the Chrome sign-off sheet. That's for the handbook. And I don't know if students are going to have to do that this year because of the situation with the online learning and the distance learning. So I'm sure that'll be updated as well. So the portion of the handbook I'm going to read today, I'm not going to read the whole thing. In fact, I said to Ms. Lamb, I said, please don't make me read the whole thing. So we're going to start with the activities section of it. And that starts on page 40 of the activity book. The first part of the code book talks about regulations and rules for school dress and medications and leave of absence and sickness and that sort of thing. And that's all covered, and you can read that and sign off on that handbook on your time. And if you guys have any questions on that, you can contact the school, either in the office or any of your faculty members. And then the portion of the handbook that I'm reading for WIA is specific to sports, and that begins here. So I'm just going to have it up on the screen, and then you can follow along as I go through it, or you can read it on your own. The Drummond School District believes that the extracurricular activity program is an integral part of our educational curriculum. It provides opportunities for learning experiences difficult to duplicate in other activities. A variety of activities should be offered for both boys and girls. The opportunity to participate in our extracurricular activity program is extended to all students who are willing to assume certain responsibilities. The student participant would be expected to display high standards of behavior, good sportsmanship, respect for others, neatness, and good grooming at all times, and meet all Drummond School District eligibility requirements. The information in this handbook applies to all activities that use the Drummond school name, so not just sports, but all activities that are extracurricular. Coaches and advisors have educational responsibilities to make every effort to communicate fully and fairly with the participating student. It is important for parents and students involved with these programs to understand the regulations governing participation. To make this phase of the student's education more meaningful, you are asked to read these regulations and sign the forms along with your son or daughter. The activities have the following major objectives: to provide opportunities for interscholastic competition, to provide activities that help to create school unity, to provide friendships with teammates and opponents, to provide opportunities to exemplify and observe good sportsmanship, to provide activities for learning self-discipline, loyalty, and personal pride, to provide the opportunities for self-reflection and respecting others' abilities, to provide the opportunity for lifelong fitness and activities, and to help students realize that participation is a privilege with accompanying responsibilities. Participating students are in the public eye from the minute their names appear on a school roster. They represent the school and the community and have an obligation to present a positive image at all times. That includes 12 months out of the year through the summer, whether in school, in the community, or while on out-of-town trips. To make participation a positive experience, the following activity codes will be in effect for all students associated with the activity programs at Drummond. The Drummond Athletic Department will follow WIA eligibility rules and regulations. Please see your coach or the athletic director for copies. Students will not be permitted to practice or draw equipment until their activities pledge sheet and WIA physical examination form is signed and returned to the school. Here's the activities code. Participating students must refrain from the use of controlled substances such as harmful drugs, tobacco, vaping, and alcoholic beverages and lookalikes of any form during the entire school year, the summer, and throughout the student's entire high school career. The controlled substances mentioned above interfere with normal body chemistry and do impair vision, sense of balance, and the cardiovascular system. Abstinence from use of these substances is required to participate in any activities at Drummond School. Holding an alcoholic drink, tobacco product, or illegal drug shall be considered use of the product. Attendance at parties where use of alcohol, tobacco, or illegal controlled substance, including lookalikes, is occurring is prohibited. Students should avoid placing themselves in situations where their guilt or innocence is questioned. Pictures and/or conversations posted on social media may also be used as evidence of code violations. If a student is suspended for the use of or distribution of drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, he or she will forfeit the right to a varsity letter in the activity in which the suspension was served. Travel with parents will be permitted if the parent contacts the coach. Transportation release form must be on file with the head coach or advisor if travel with an adult other than the parent is done on a regular basis. Travel to practice locations other than school will be provided by the district. A transportation release form must be on file with the head coach before travel to practices with anyone else will be permitted. We are, because of COVID, we are encouraging students to ride with their parents to activities. The Indian Head Conference did create a, we had talked about not having any fans, but we thought if we're encouraging students to ride with their parents, then parents should be able to watch their kids participate in sports. That does not extend to the rest of the family or extended family. And we apologize for that, but because of the size of our gyms, that makes it very difficult. So we didn't want to say no fans, but we had to limit the fans as much as possible. Now that includes indoor sports. For things like cross country that take place outdoors, we're just asking that you wear a mask and that you socially distance. But there are not limits put on the number of people that can attend those events. So please keep that in mind. And thank you for being understanding in that regard. No participant may change from one sport or activity to another during the same season without permission from the two supervisors. And that should be less of an issue because we do have the option now at Drummond to be a dual sport athlete. There is paperwork in the office, and we do have a protocol for if there's a conflict, which sport takes precedent, but we do have that opportunity. So if your son or daughter is interested in multiple sports, we do not want to limit them. Now, obviously, there are scheduling conflicts and there are postseason conflicts, and that is out of our control when it comes to either conference or WIA. But we want to encourage students to be involved in as much as possible. So please keep that in mind. Number 6, each student is responsible for school equipment issued in his or her care. All lost or damaged equipment must be paid for by the student. Students' attire should appear appropriate when representing Drummond School in compliance with the school handbook. Dress of a student should be appropriate both in school and on road trips, and discretion concerning style is the responsibility of the individual coach. The coach has final authority to supplement these rules with approval of the principal. Any student reported for a violation of any of the foregoing rules, with the exception of grades, will be called in for a conference with the principal and the coach involved. After careful examination of the facts involved, penalties will be awarded accordingly. Chronic discipline problems will be reviewed by the student, coach, and the principal, and necessary action will be taken. The Activities Council will determine minimum penalties for any unacceptable conduct contrary to the ideals, principles, and standards of the school district, including but not limited to criminal behavior. 5516 talks about student hazing. The Board of Education believes that hazing activities of any type are inconsistent with the educational process and a violation of state law. It prohibits all such activities at any time in school facilities, on school property, and at any district-sponsored event. And this goes through those policies. Drummond has, in the 17 years that I've been athletic director, Drummond has not had any issues with hazing, nor have I heard of us having any issues before I got here. So hazing has been something that luckily we have not had to deal with, and our plan is to not have to deal with that in the future. The following attendance requirements are required for participation. Students must be present the full day of school in order to participate in the practice, unless they have been excused from medical or dental appointments or have a signed excuse from the principal in order to participate. Obviously, with our A and B days and our online learning, that is, if students are present and they're attending their classes, even if it's online, that is considered full day. Now, if students are not doing that, that would not be full day, but as long as they're meeting the requirements that are asked of them of their teachers, then they are meeting those requirements. So please keep that in mind. You do not have to be in person if you're online. Students will be in school the full day before or after the game or contest, unless they have been excused from medical or dental appointments or have a signed excuse from the principal in order to participate. That could include doctor's appointments, that include getting your driver's license. Sometimes there are other scheduled appointments that students need to miss. Just make sure you contact the principal and let them know that there is going to be a planned absence. Otherwise, we expect you to be in school the day before or after contests. We understand that they're late nights, but please understand these are extracurricular activities, and your schooling comes first. That's our priority. So please keep that in mind. Abuse of the day before and after absences will result in principal or coach and student missing with a warning. Continued absences will result in a game or contest suspension. We have had incidences where this has come up. We have told students that was your warning. The next time this happens, you miss a contest. Luckily, we haven't had anybody miss any contests because of that. Hopefully your son or daughter is not the first. A student has missed one or more periods of school will not be permitted to participate in the after school or evening activities of that day without administrative approval. Sometimes things come up, car accidents on the way to school, somebody has an emergency that they need to take care of at home. We understand that. Please make sure you are contacting administration and letting them know what your issue is, so we understand why people are missing. If you're in school and not in class, you aren't ineligible to participate. We just don't want people skipping classes there. Students serving suspensions. A student serving any 2 half-day in-school suspensions or a full day in-school suspension is not allowed to permitted to participate in any after-school activity or evening after activity. So you can't go to practice or games if you've been suspended. Now the half days work. So the first half day you would be allowed to participate. The second half day, that would be the day that you were out. So please keep that in mind. To be honest, we shouldn't have anybody getting suspended. Our rules at Drummond are very fair, and we ask that you follow them if you want to participate in extracurriculars. So if you have any questions with that, we can help you with those. Academic eligibility. Participating students must meet WI and school requirements defining a full-time student. A student's academic eligibility will be determined 8 times throughout the year, at the first through the 4th quarter progress report and at the end of each 4th quarter grading or 4-quarter grading periods. Should a student become academically ineligible with an F, they may only regain eligibility by passing all classes by 14 calendar days from the posted grade, or they have to wait till the next grading cycle. Students then become eligible to participate in contests the 15th day if they are passing all their classes. So that the next day after they've shown their passing, not only the class that they failed, but all their classes. If a student receives an I, an incomplete, that student regains eligibility once they've completed that schoolwork. So if you get that work in, you can compete that day as long as you make up that work that you were missing. If a student is ineligible for fall activities, eligibility may be regained after 15 days of practice during the ineligibility period. Students may participate in practices and rehearsals, but participation in events and performances is prohibited. We are allowing everybody to be academically eligible this fall. So we're not holding the fourth quarter, which was obviously during the pandemic when we got shut down. We are not holding any of those grades against anybody. Everybody gets a clean slate grade-wise this fall. Obviously, if there were code violations for other parts of this handbook in terms of suspensions, those would still carry over. But as far as grades, everybody gets a clean slate. So I think that's pretty fair. Last spring was very difficult for everybody. So we're just starting anew this fall. Procedures for reporting violations. Upon receiving a signed written report concerning breaking of training rules and regulations, the principal will notify all parties concerned and call a session of the Activities Council to take appropriate action. Students reported in violation of any of the above restrictions shall be referred to the following Activities Council. The Activities Council shall be comprised of the following: the middle and high school principal, 3 activity supervisors, and the athletic director. No teacher or supervisor directly involved with a case or a specific student shall sit in the council for that case. So if you're in a sport, the coach for that sport has been removed from that case. They will not make a judgment. It's too close and it would affect their season. So we just remove them from making decisions there. The Activity Council shall have the authority to enforce all co-curricular rules and regulations and to suspend or expel activities participants from a particular activity with cause according to the procedures described in this policy. No student shall be denied the opportunity to participate unless the Activity Council first reviews such case. Upon presentation of a charge that a student has violated a rule or regulation as described above, the Activity Council shall conduct a hearing at which the student shall be entitled to be present and to respond. After considering all the facts presented in this case, the Activity Council shall issue a determination as to the guilt or innocence of the student. The athletic director will communicate the findings of the Activities Council via a formal letter to the student, parent, coach, and principal for athletes. A copy will be placed in the student file. Sometimes that letter comes from the principal. It doesn't always come from me because I am teaching full-time. So sometimes it needs to come from our principal. Students may serve academic ineligibility and code violation suspensions concurrently. In cases where the Activity Council finds the student guilty of violating a rule or regulation, the council will have the authority to take the following actions. First offense, the penalty for a first violation is suspension of 25% of the regularly scheduled contest. If the violation is related to the use and possession of alcohol or drugs, the student must successfully complete an assessment or treatment. That's at our school's discretion. It might be necessary to have this verified in writing by a counselor. Here are the different offenses. Alcohol use, tobacco use, drug use, use of lookalikes or vaping, possession or distribution of any of the above, misdemeanors, felonies, or other law offenses, theft or attempted theft, possession of stolen property, or flagrant inappropriate behavior. And that would be deemed by the co-curricular council, whether it is inappropriate or not. The second offense, the penalty for the second offense of any of the above is suspension from 50% of the regularly scheduled contest. If the violation is related to the use of alcohol or drugs, once again, we could ask them to look at counseling. If the second violation occurs 1 calendar year or more after the first, then it's treated as the first. So we look at things from handbook to handbook in 12-month increments. So if you have 2 violations within 12 months, it's 50%. And after a year, it's kind of like points on a driver's license. After a year, the slate is wiped clean and we start again. The third offense, the penalty for a third violation for the above is a calendar year suspension. That's 12 months from the date of the penalty. If the violation is related to drug or alcohol, we could look at counseling for that. This has not happened very often. Hopefully students learn after the first offense and that they're not going through a second or third. It has happened before, and we do follow the letter of the law, and students are responsible for their actions. We do hold them accountable. So please keep that in mind. The penalty for the first violation of attendance at parties where the use of alcohol, tobacco, or illegal controlled substances or lookalikes is occurring shall be a suspension from one contest. We're trying to be fair, and we want kids to be honest. So if they end up at a situation where their integrity based on alcohol, tobacco, or illegal substances is questioned, if they're honest about it and say, I was there, but I wasn't participating, the suspension is one contest rather than 25 or more of their season. We want students to be honest. We understand we're trying to ask students not to be in those situations in the first place. So this penalty is kind of a fair compromise between the two. During a suspension, the students must continue to practice with the team and dress in street clothes and attend all contests. So you can't just say, well, I'm out for, until the sixth game. I'm not going to do anything till then. Nope, you continue to practice. You continue to travel with the team. You just are not allowed to participate. When the suspension cannot be completed during the season of the activity in which the violation occurred, it is carried over to the next activity the student participates in. The period of suspension carried into the second sport is prorated according to the percentage previously served. So if something happens at the end of a season, not only do you forfeit your right to any awards in that season, but it also carries over to the next one. So timing is a big part of that. We want to make sure that that students are being held accountable for that, and it's not just sport specific. It's during their extracurriculars. The student must complete the entire season of the second activity for the suspension to be recognized. If you are found in code violation and you decide you're going to quit, that follows you until you are in an extracurricular, and then those percentages apply. So you can't just quit. I guess if you never went out for another sport again, it wouldn't apply. But if you want to do extracurriculars at Drummond, this is the guidelines for that. We also have an honesty clause. Students who report their own violations to the athletic director, coach, or principal could, at the discretion of the athletic director, coach, and principal, have their suspension reduced. I will say, in all my years' experience, if you were honest with us, we almost always give you the honesty reduction. And that is reducing your penalty by 50%. So if you were out 25%, we reduce it to 12.5. If it's 50% to 25, and that saves multiple contests in a lot of cases. We want students to be honest. We want them to own up to what happened and then learn from it and move on. So that's why that honesty clause is there. If the violation of the activity code occurs at any away contest, parents or guardians will be contacted immediately and may be expected to come and pick up the offending student. That is in there. We have not had that happen, but if it does, we are going to ask that parents and guardians be responsible for that. Decisions of the Activities Council may be appealed in writing to the district administrator within 3 days of the Activity Council's decision. The appeal letter must state the compelling reasons why the decision of the Activities Council should not stand. The district administrator will issue a written decision in response to the appeal within 10 school days after the letter of appeal was received. And the decision of our district administrator shall be final. And then this is just entering the school building after hours. All students should be out of the school building within 30 minutes after school is closed for the day, unless the student is under the supervision of an administrative approved adult. Students are never to enter the building after 5 o'clock or on weekends unless an approved adult is present and has given permission. The gym may be open or pre-arranged on weekends or times, but only with the permission of an athletic director or building administrator. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted in the gym without permission and pre-approved adult supervision. We just want to make sure if people are using the building, we know who, in case something happens. And that concludes the athletic part of the handbook. Now, we do have a part that talks about our spectator code of conduct. We are also asking that parents and spectators are also embodying that same character and ethics that we expect out of our Drummond students. You know, I'm not going to go through this. Parents and spectators, you can go through this and look at it. I will say WIA, because they've had a bigger issue with this in the last few years, is coming down harder on it. If anybody is asked to leave the stands by a school or by a umpire or referee, not only is that person out for the remainder of that contest, but that individual is not allowed to go to the next contest, whether that be at home or away. They are not allowed to participate. So it's not only being kicked out of that game, but it's not being allowed into the next one. And they did that because we're finding that more and more adults are getting involved in these games. Please remember that these students are playing the sport because they love it, they enjoy it, they like competition, but sportsmanship is also something that comes into play there. Referees and umpires, it's very difficult to find them. We don't have people that are willing to put themselves out there. And part of that is because there is so much pressure on them from fans and coaches. So please try and refrain from unsportsmanlike conduct at our contests. And that doesn't just go for Drummond fans, that goes for fans of all schools. But I like to think we're Drummond. We can be better than that. And we want people to say, man, when they're a contest, the Drummond fans are loud, they're into it, they know the game, but they're also good fans. We don't have to worry about people saying things that are inappropriate, using bad language. Remember, you are adults and these are high school kids participating, or middle school in some cases. And we have to remember that and be good role models for them. So please keep that in mind. Hopefully that's something we never have to deal with, but that is something that does exist. So if anybody has any questions on that, I would be happy to answer them. I appreciate all of you for taking the time to listen. I'm looking forward to, I'm hoping, we're crossing our fingers that we can still have sports. I know we are in a unique situation, and please understand that there are two things in mind when it comes to extracurriculars this year. Number one is safety. We want to make sure if we're doing something that we make it as safe as possible for the athletes and the spectators and the coaches and the workers for that matter. The other thing is opportunity. WIAA and our schools are working very hard not to shut off the opportunity to have sports. People might not always like the way the schedule works out. People might be frustrated with the fact that it's so different than years past. Bear with us. It's different for us too. And our two goals are to make sure safety and opportunity are always at the forefront of the decisions that we make. And we have a very good conference. We have a conference that cares about its athletes, that cares about its communities, and we are going to do what we think is best for them. So thank you for listening. I appreciate that you're willing to watch this video, hopefully all the way through. Look forward to the seasons. I think we've got some great athletes, and we've got some great fans, and I think we've got some great teams. Please make sure that you're socially distancing and wearing a mask so we can give these kids every opportunity to have these athletic events. Thank you very much, and look forward to the 2021 year. Thanks.